This Film is Lit, the podcast where we finally settle the score on one simple question. Is the book really better than the movie? I'm Brian. I have a film degree, so I watch the movie, but don't read the book.
And I'm Katie. I have an English degree, so I do things the right way and read the book before we watch the movie.
Look, some of us are lazy, alright?
If by lazy you mean wrong.
Prepare to be wowed by our expertise and charm as we dissect all of your favorite film adaptations and decide whether the silver screen or the written word did it better. So turn it up, settle in, and get ready for spoilers, because guess what? This film is lit.
It's probably made more people cry than any other talking animal film. It's Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, and this film is lit. Hello and welcome back to the 25th episode of This Film is Lit. We're tackling a childhood classic, at least for our childhood, today. Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, 1993 film based, or remake of a 1963 film based on a 1960 novel, short story, children's novel. It's, like I said, Homeward Bound. The book is called The Incredible Journey. Mm-hmm. Before we get started on today's episode, if you could do us a favor, if you're enjoying our lovely little podcast here, go to iTunes, go to Stitcher, go to Google Play, whatever thing you use to listen to us. Throw us a 5-star review and a little rating and a little review. It's a big help. Helps spread us around even more. We're seeing a huge increase in listeners, or that's not huge. We're seeing a steady increase in listeners over as we keep going. Every month it's more and more as more people are finding us. And a way a lot of people find us is by showing up in recommendations and that sort of thing, which happens more when we get more reviews and more ratings. So go and do that for us. That'd be great. On with the episode. Let's get into...
No, hang on.
Wait.
We don't have any Guess Who's.
Yeah.
But there's something that we have to...
Okay, hold on. We're going to do Let Me Sum Up first.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we were doing that.
Yeah.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
So in case you haven't seen Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, brief synopsis. 3 animals, 2 dogs, a cat. They are left at a friend's or / relative's house when their owners move to the other side of the coast. The family's going to come back every couple weeks and visit. The dogs think they've been abandoned and decide we must go back. We must go home. Mm-hmm. Hence Homeward Bound in the movie title. And they embark on an incredible journey across the Sierra Nevada mountains. Yeah. In an attempt to return home to their owners, masters, whatever you want to call it. In the movie, they refer to themselves as owning the people, but and that's pretty much the story. It's do they or do they not make it home to their family, and the trials and tribulations of that trek. Okay, Katie, now what do we need to do?
Okay. So, from book to movie, some changes were made to our 3 main characters.
Okay.
So, I want to clear that up because I think it's going to be relevant to all of the other stuff that we discuss.
Okay.
So, in the book, we have an old dog. And in the book, he is a bull terrier, and his name is Bodger.
Bodger.
I think is how that's pronounced.
Okay.
And he actually comes closer to filling Chance's role.
I think isn't Chance a bull terrier?
He's an American bulldog.
Oh, okay.
There.
Yeah.
Bull terriers are. Do you remember the Target dog?
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
They have the kind of
the
weird
Little Rascals
face.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have our old dog. We have our young dog. Then, who is a Labrador Retriever, and his name is Lua. I think is how it's pronounced. It's Gaelic, so it's kind of anyone who doesn't speak Gaelic's best guess.
Right.
But I think it's Lua.
Okay.
And he fills a role that is much closer to Shadows. He's kind of the leader.
Even though he's younger.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's kind of the leader. He's the one who decides we need to go home now.
Okay.
And then there's the cat, who in the book is named Tao. And he's a Siamese.
T-A-U?
T-A-O.
Oh, okay. So the names are all completely different.
Right. So then, of course, in the movie, we have our old dog, Shadow, a golden retriever, our young dog, Chance, an American bulldog, and our cat, Sassy, who is a Himalayan. And I looked it up, and there actually is a difference between a Siamese and a Himalayan.
Okay, fair enough. I just assumed she was Siamese.
A Himalayan is a Siamese crossed with a Persian. To try to keep this clear while I'm talking about like differences between the books and the movies, since they made switches to like the kind of roles that they fulfill.
Yeah.
If I'm talking about the role in general, I'll say the young dog, the old dog, or the cat.
Okay.
If I'm talking about a specific character, I'll say the name.
Okay. There we go. It's not Guess Who, but it's Guess Who adjacent.
It is kind of Guess Who adjacent.
No game aspect, but it's laying out some groundwork for our further discussion. So let's move along to the book.
Nicholas Flamel is the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone.
The what?
Honestly, don't you two read?
I have a handful of questions about things that I'm wondering if were in the book. Some big, some small. It's interesting because obviously, I do you know the length of the book?
The book
roughly
it's 11 short chapters. It's 145 pages.
Okay.
This edition that I have.
So, and it's an hour and 20-minute movie, roughly. So they could have translated a lot of it, probably, fair amount. Although they probably would have had to make some. Because I got to imagine the book doesn't have a lot of dialogue, so a lot of that is probably describing things that happen. Thus, maybe they couldn't fit it all in. But anyways, we'll see. Because that would have been about a 2-hour movie, roughly. First thing is because it's a kids movie, it's a Disney movie, the 1993 version, so they inject a lot of humor into the film. Is there a humorous element that is as prominent in the book?
No, not really.
Okay.
There are maybe a couple kind of humorous moments, but overall the book isn't funny.
Okay, I mean, the main way we see that in the film is with Chance, played by Michael J. Fox. He's very much his high energy and his goofiness, I guess. I don't even know the right word, like his playful nature. And he also makes a lot of pop culture reference, not a lot, several pop culture references.
A handful, yeah.
And so they play a lot for laughs for kids. And I had a feeling just based on thinking about it in terms of the book being written in 1960, it probably wasn't played as much for humor, a little more for like a fun adventure story about animals. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the movie dialed up the humor. In the book, and now this is where it gets complicated with the changes.
Right.
In the movie, Chance is a rescue. He's been in the pound several times, at least once or twice, and now is with this family that I guess they came and picked him up from the pound. And a big theme in the movie that with Chance and his character growth to some extent is he doesn't trust humans, and he also doesn't trust that this family that this is going to stick, that he's going to be with this family.
Right. He doesn't think that they really want him.
Yes, because he's been sort of, in and out of pounds and that sort of thing.
He's very jaded.
Yes.
In a way.
And I think there's a very much an analogy here for any children that would be watching this film that maybe were in the, not adopted, but the
foster care system?
Foster care system.
Yeah.
It could definitely maybe identify with that sort of feeling in the dog. And so maybe that's kind of what that was playing to. But is that theme relevant in either of the dog or any of the animal characters?
No, it's not in the books at all. That's really something that they added for the movie.
Yeah, I kind of figured. Honestly, I figured a lot of the stuff they added for the movie. My guess is that they mostly took the idea of the book and...
Yeah.
Like 3 animals, 2 dogs and a cat trekking across the country to get home, and then did what they wanted with it. But okay, because that was an interesting theme, and like I said, I thought it was it's a niche audience, of children to kind of direct that too. But I'm not that they would be the only people that would identify with this sort of feeling unloved or whatever, but just that specific thing I thought was an interesting addition, and I was wondering if it was a theme from the book, but it's not. So, all right, so this is a big thing to some extent. I don't know what the backstory of the family or what the events that set about the need for the journey, the incredible journey. In the movie, the mom has 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. And she, at the beginning of the movie, is marrying a guy.
Yes.
So it's a stepfather joining the family. And so the reason they are moving is they're moving to San Francisco because that's where he works. He's a professor at a college, like USC, or that's not USC, whatever, some university in San Francisco.
So they're going to go stay in San Francisco for a while, but they were planning to come back.
I'm a little confused as to the circumstances of exactly what was going on because they're in school in San Francisco.
Yeah, but they don't ever clearly really say what exactly
the plan is. Because they also state that they're going to come back some weekends to see the pets.
Yeah.
Anyways, is any of that from the book, that backstory with the family or any of that? Or is that all manufactured for the film?
It's sort of there. There's a similar. So when the book starts, the pets are already with the family friend. So we don't meet the family at the beginning like we do in the movie.
Okay.
And the reason that they are with this family friend is because their family has to go live in England for a few months, again, because of the dad's work.
Yeah.
Which I feel like makes a little more sense than what we get in the movie, because I'm like, why couldn't you bring your pets to San Francisco with you?
Yeah, this is my big thing, and the reason they say it, he says why in the movie. He says, well, we can't have them all cooped up. I guess the implication being that they're living in a relatively small apartment in San Francisco that they don't want to have 2 large dogs in and a cat. I guess I thought the same thing. I was like, to me, it was like, that is an incredible. Also, why can't he just commute?
Yeah, right.
Why can't he just come back on weekend? Or I don't.
And I don't think they ever actually say where the family's house in the suburbs or whatever is, but it can't possibly.
No, it's not in the suburbs. It's across the mountains. So my thinking is that because they don't ever say specifically. My thinking is that it's. Because I get that, but they're not crossing the Rockies.
It's still in California. So I'm like, how far could it possibly be?
Apparently to get anywhere in California takes, literally to get from one side of LA to the other takes 2 hours, or I'm talking out of my ass, but it's something ridiculous. Traffic is a nightmare, and it takes forever to get anywhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if getting from San Francisco to their home out, in Eastern California or wherever it is takes 4 or 5 hours or something like that.
I just have
or even longer.
I have a lot of questions about the whole scenario. Are they going to keep moving back and forth? Because where is he going to get a job?
Yeah, because at the end of the movie, the implication is now they're staying.
Yeah, because the mom's like, oh, it's so much better now that we're back home, and it's very clearly Thanksgiving.
Yeah. My only thinking is that maybe there's a subplot because he's looking for grant money. There's a brief mention of the stepfather where he's going to the grant committee, and maybe once he does that, he's going to be working on...
Oh, yeah, maybe he's going on sabbatical.
Right. Maybe he's going to be doing something he can either do from home or he has some other... I don't know what... He's a scientist of some sort, or at least his office has, chemistry type stuff in it. So maybe he has stuff he can do from home or something if he gets this grant, because that's only mentioned, but I'm just expanding on what the little we get. Maybe that's what's going on. But my big thing was that is an incredible ask of your 3... very young children to just completely give up their pets that they've had. That's... I don't know. That seems incredibly, I would never ask my children to do that, I don't think.
I wouldn't either, and especially as someone marrying into this family unit that already existed.
Yeah.
My thought process would be... they already probably don't really like me.
Yeah, let me not, be the reason they don't get to see their pets anymore. We're coming up with a solution that doesn't include separating you from your childhood pets that you all dearly love. I know. I was like this, but so the premise from the book makes a little more sense, at least to some extent. That you said they're going to Europe or something.
Yeah, so they're going. The book is set in Canada, and they have to go live in England for a while.
All right, moving on. So it is a similar, at least, setup. It's just they change how it works.
Yeah.
Do the 3 pets belong to 3 kids of matching genders?
Yes and no.
Okay.
The cat does belong to the daughter, and the old dog does belong to the son, but in the book, Jamie, the youngest boy, doesn't exist. And the young dog belongs to the dad. He's like a hunting dog that the dad takes out, hunting ducks.
That's interesting. So he brings a pet into the family.
Yeah. Well, the dad's, it's not like a stepdad situation.
Oh, they're
like
just, okay.
Yeah.
They're just already, sorry.
Yeah, it's already a family unit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's an interesting change.
Yeah, it is.
In the movie. Because that's a very prominent, or a very common thing that dealing with, stepfathers.
Right. And it almost, I don't want to say it mirrors it, but it kind of relates to Chance's anxieties with like joining a new family and like, do they actually want me? Will they actually love me? It's kind of a similar.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Does the cat go over a waterfall?
No, but the river sequence is in the book.
Okay.
And it is somewhat similar to what happens in the movie.
Who goes over a waterfall? Or does anyone?
It's still the cat.
Oh, you just said no.
Well,
I just said, does the cat go over a waterfall? And you said no.
But there is the river part. The cat just doesn't go over a waterfall.
Okay.
You asked too specific of a question.
All right, I'm sorry. So, but the cat does fall in the river.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm assuming, well, I guess we can get to it, but there's probably no side story with a kindly old man that finds and rescues the cat.
There's a similar side story, but I want to talk about it later.
All right. Moving along to bad things happening to animals. Does Chance get porcupined in the face? Or not Chance, whatever. Whichever dog correlates to Chance.
Yes.
Okay.
The young dog in this instance is the one that gets porcupined.
Okay. Which is the retriever in this one. Yes. Or in the book. Do the animals rescue a lost little girl? No.
That entire sequence was added for the movie, and I had completely forgotten about it.
I had too.
When we started watching, I was like, oh yeah, this happens.
Yeah, so in the movie, while they're trekking through the mountains, they find a little, 5-year-old girl or something, just lost in the woods. And they just stay with her, and then Shadow goes and hears their parents. Yeah, he hears the search group. And goes and barks at him and brings them to him. And there's a great moment in the movie that we both laughed at when...
I lost my mind.
Because it's such a cliche, and I didn't write it down, but when Shadow is barking at the group, one guy, I think it's the dad, turns around and goes, "What is it, boy?" Which is just... It's
Timmy's in the well.
Yeah. It's like, what's that? She's over there. Which I'm sure was a purposeful nod.
Yeah.
To, Lassie and all of those all of the dog TV shows and movies of yesteryear where a dog comes and talks to the humans and leads them, to Timmy down the well or whatever. But it was so funny. I forgot. I guess I had never thought about that line probably when I was a kid. It just didn't, because I wasn't aware of the cliche to make it funny as a child. But it was very funny this time. I'm assuming this doesn't happen. They don't end up at an animal rescue with the family thinking they're safe and then get lost again.
No.
Or run away. Because that part always pissed me off when I was a kid, and it pissed me off even more this time. It always annoyed me when I was a kid because I was like, what? I was always maybe annoyed's not the right word, but I always remember being really upset because I remember thinking if I ever lost my dog and then somebody told me they found him and then I went to that place and they didn't have him, I would be so mad.
Yeah.
I would be so upset. And they were like, oh, nope, they got away again.
People at that animal shelter were terrible at their jobs.
Terrible at their jobs. Straight up the worst. As we're watching this, I'm like, none of you, what are any of you doing? None of you are remotely qualified for any of these positions. And not even, they just, literally, the guy with the fucking cat, the cat is sitting in the passenger seat, and he just opens the door and the cat runs away. He's like, whoa,
Nonsense.
no! What were you expecting to happen? You can't just let the cat sit there. It's gonna run away. It doesn't fucking know you. All right, and then the final two big ones, and this is the most important part because it's the climax of the film. Is there a giant mud pit that they fall into?
No, that's not in the book.
Okay. That part's terrible. It reminds me of in the Neverending Story when the horse falls into what Swamp of Sorrow. I can't remember what it's called. Swamp of Sorrow or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So no giant mud pit, but this is the most important one because this felt to me as I was watching it very much like a very Disney ending to the film, and obviously spoilers for the Homeward Bound. But at the end of the film, they finally make it back, and the family is at home at this point because they went to the shelter and they weren't there, and then they came home and it's on Thanksgiving, and I think it's Thanksgiving, at least appears to be, because they have like turkeys and stuff, and they're hanging out and they hear a dog barking, and then the animals come home, and it's Chance comes over the hill first to the little boy, and then the cat shows up, and then nothing, and they're like, oh, Shadow is old, he probably couldn't make it, probably didn't make it, and so you think, oh no, Shadow died, because the last we saw he was stuck in a muddy ditch, and we figured he wasn't going to make it, but at the last moment he comes over the hill, and there's a glorious,
and the music crests,
the music soars, and the little boy actor runs, sprints across the field, and it's great, tear-jerking moment if ever there was one. Does that happen like that in the book?
Yes.
It does.
Actually.
Wow.
Yeah. At the end of the book, when the animals get home, you aren't sure there for a few minutes if the old dog is going to arrive. Really? Yeah. So what, and I guess maybe we can talk about it later, but what happened that, or are we not privy to why he's not there, or? We're not really privy to it. Okay. I think the last thing that they do before we see their actual homecoming sequence is they're at like a little village, or maybe a farm, and they get some like medical care because of the porcupine face. Oh, so there is a similar to the animal rescue, but it's not at a pound or whatever, or a animal shelter. And they get some food, and then they move on. And I think that's the last thing that we see before their actual homecoming scene. But the old dog does have some troubles, like, throughout the story. So there's at least a setup of a pretense of why while reading the book, you think the old dog might not have made it. Because in the movie, it's obviously very clear why you think he might not make it back, because he's stuck in a giant pit and he can't get out of it. Right. But it sounds like that's not the case in the book, but instead it's more of like he's old and he's struggling throughout. Yeah. But it's not like a direct setup. Well, I can already tell you that that's better in the movie for me without having read the book, but we'll get to that later. That's all I had for Was That in the Book. Lots of big moments, a few little things. Probably more of it from the book than I actually expected, especially the ending. That really felt like the sort of... It does feel like a Disney ad. Feels like a very Disney ending to have, he didn't make it back, but then, over the hill, oh my God. Like, it just felt, I was like, it's probably added. But also, if you don't at least get a lump in your throat when Shadow comes up over the hill, you're probably a robot person. Yes, 100% robot if you, It's, it is... I cried. Yes, you did. I said I would. Because I always do. And you did. But no, it is 100% a tearjerker. Yes. All right. I only have one for this next category, but let's knock it out. Let's move on to Lost in Adaptation.
Just show me the way to get out of here, and I'll be on my way. Wow. Is it lost? Yes, and I want to get unlost as soon as possible.
You asked me if I had written this down. Yeah, because I wanted to talk about it. And I had, and it was the only one I had because I could not understand what the movie was going for. They must have cut a scene or something. Or they just didn't care. Okay, so here's my Lost in Adaptation, and if you watched this movie recently, it's a little thing that you probably don't remember. If you haven't watched this since you were a little kid, you probably don't remember this one little thing, but it's like a very interesting plot point that kind of makes not all of it possible, but like affects the way it plays out, and I didn't understand it. So they take the dogs and the cat to their family friend, who's this woman who...
she has like a ranch.
She has like a ranch, and she has to go run some horses or something, or take some horses on a trail for a few days. So she's going to be out of, like, gone for a couple days, and she can't take the animals with her. So she has a friend, a neighbor, who's going to come and feed them, you know, while she's gone or whatever.
Yes.
And in the movie, so they jump the fence, like right after she leaves. They jump out because they're like, oh no, she left us too. And then the neighbor shows up the next day or something, or that day later. Doesn't matter. Yeah. It shows up and the animals are gone. And he's like, what the heck? Where are the animals at? And he walks into like the shed or the barn, or I don't know. He walks in, or maybe it's the house. I don't even know. He walks into the building and he finds a note on the counter. And he reads the note, and it says, and it's presumably from her, that says, I took the animals were homesick. Like the young dog was homesick. So I took the animals, and then he like trails off or something. Like I don't even remember.
And it's important because he doesn't know to sound the alarm that they're gone.
Yeah.
So they get, by the time they realize that they're missing,
they're way into
the wilderness.
Yeah. Not that I think it would matter that much if he had. They'd still probably be. Yeah. But yes. So he doesn't say anything. He goes, oh, she has him, basically.
So I really wanted to talk about this because this is something about the movie that makes no goddamn sense.
I agree.
And it's baffling to me now, having read the book, because there is a perfectly good sequence of events that happens in the book.
Okay.
So the note that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this part or not, but when she leaves the note, she leaves the note, she writes down her note, and she's got 2 pieces of paper. Okay?
Okay.
And then one of the pieces of paper, like, falls on the floor and goes under something.
Oh, okay. Must have been, yeah.
All right? And then the remaining page, as you said, it says something like, oh, the dog was homesick, so I'm taking the animals with me. Which makes no sense. Like, why would she even write that?
Why would she have written that note?
Yeah. Why, what earthly reason would she have written that for? Unless maybe there's, like you said, a deleted scene and that's like an old note. Yeah. But then why would she put her current note with that? It doesn't make any sense.
I was so perplexed by all of that. Yeah. And then, because, maybe she didn't say, maybe the note didn't say I'm taking them with me, but I'm taking them to see... I don't know. I don't know. And if you understood that at all, like if you rewatch this, or I don't know, if you understood what the heck was going on there, but oh, so now you explain it, because I missed the fact that there was a second note and then like it fell.
Yeah.
And it was what the heck was that note? Why did she write it?
Yeah. Why was it even there?
Why was it even there? It doesn't make any sense. And again, I don't even think it's that. Yeah.
So what happens in the book is kind of similar. Okay. The guy, the family friend, he writes out a 2-page little memo on like a little notepad thing. And the first page of this note ends with, I'm taking the animals. And then the second page continues, for a walk before I leave.
Maybe that is what it said, and maybe that's what it said. I would have to rewatch it. That might have been what it said. And they just didn't portray that very well.
Yeah.
Was my only thought.
Yeah, so then in the book, obviously the part of the note that says, for a walk before I leave, like, falls into the fire.
Okay. That must be what they were trying to go for.
I'm sure that is what they were trying to go for, but, like, the thing that the guy reads out loud on the note doesn't work with that.
Because it would have been the second half of the note. Yeah. Not the first half.
Yeah. It doesn't make
sense. Now I feel like I need to rewatch it and piece this together. But maybe I'll go through and forensics it. But that's interesting now that you say that. That might be what that was clearly what they were trying to express, but I did not get that.
What they were trying to do. And the other problem, too, is that maybe if we like paused it and zoomed in on it, but you can't see what that other piece of paper says that falls on the floor. Right. So we just have no idea.
Right. They were probably like, nah, who cares? it doesn't matter. Like, it's a kid.
That bothered me when I was a child, too. I remember. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I think I do remember as a child being like, wait, why does he... Like, I guess, I don't know, because he kind of mumbles it, and, like, I guess I just never, I don't know.
I was really hoping that maybe I just, like, was misremembering, or I just didn't understand it because I was a dumb kid, and, like, when I watched it as an adult, like, the clouds would clear and it would all make sense, but no.
No. Well, it's good to know that you were just as lost in adaptation as I was. And we haven't figured nothing out. Well, we figured it out. With the book does clear it up.
Yeah, I think we know what they were trying
to do was what they did in the book, where it's like a page break, and that somehow causes
but the way that they did it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was not handled very well in the movie. Well, all right then, slightly less lost an adaptation. Let's move on to better in the book.
You like to read?
Yes, I love to read.
What do you like to read?
Everything.
So the movie has a lot of, like, friction between the animals.
Yeah.
Like, they don't necessarily like each other a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's very much I think they play it very much as a sibling-y type of
they
relationship.
Kind of tolerate each other and torture each other a little bit.
Yeah, they like each other, but they're like siblings. Like they mess with each other, but they like each other, but they also screw with each other and they annoy each other.
And I do think that was a good change from what the book does. Because it makes for good tension, it makes for good conflict, it allows for character growth. Mm-hmm. In the book, all three animals are good friends. Okay. They all get along really well. And I don't necessarily think that's better, but I do think it is a less kind of stereotypical animal story.
Okay. I don't know if I know enough about the stereotypes of animal stories.
I mean, like the stereotype of, like, oh, the cat and the dog don't get along.
Okay, right. Sorry, yeah, that is, very obviously.
Yeah. It's just for me, a little more, like, unexpected and interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because you definitely expect the tension between the cat and the dog. Yeah. And there's numerous lines throughout where it's like, say it, cats rule and dogs drool, like, but they play up that even more
and it is very like you said, sibling like.
Yeah. Which again, I think the movie changes obviously to help connect more with children watching it. Mm-hmm. That sort of similar relationships they feel with their older brothers or sisters or whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love Sassy. I do.
Sally Field.
Sassy.
How can you not?
It's Sally Field. I know, and I talk about this again in Better in the Movie, actually. Okay. But I just want to say how much I also loved the cat in the book, because this cat was a badass. He fought a bear.
Well, you showed me the picture. You'll have to post that on the Facebook. Yeah. There's a drawing in the book, like a chapter heading drawing, and it's a cat fighting a bear.
He fights a bear. He does all this hunting. He evades a bobcat with aplomb.
The dogs deal with the bobcat in the movie. She does do all the hunting in the movie.
She does. They do show her hunting. I would say she does even more hunting. Yeah. It's a he in the book, but not that it really matters. But in the book, they wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for the cat. Yeah. Legit wouldn't have made it.
I think there's some of that in the movie. They might not play it up as much, but they and this wasn't something I remembered, but they very vividly make it clear that, at least for a while, she's the only one that can catch fish. I mean, Shadow does eventually. Yeah. And then I guess Chance does.
And maybe what helped that to feel heightened for me in the book is that they specifically talk about the dogs not being able to hunt. Yeah. Because apparently Labrador retrievers have a hard time actually killing things because they're bred to retrieve. Right. And to not maybe to not be able to like.
Well, my guess, I don't know a lot about hunting dogs, but my guess would be that, yeah, because they are retrievers, that you generally wouldn't want them to like destroy.
Yeah, and I don't
like
really,
shake
I don't
and,
know a lot about hunting dogs either, but that was the implication that I got from the book, was that he had kind of like a hard time with killing things because it like went against his instincts or whatever.
I guess. I don't know how true that is. Somebody who hunts or knows anything about hunting dogs may be able to comment on that better. But yeah, I could potentially see that being the case, maybe.
But they do definitely play up the idea that the cat is the hunter and the dogs would be quite woebegone without the cat.
Okay.
The bobcat scene. Well, it's actually like a cougar in the movie.
Yeah, a mountain lion, I think.
It's a mountain lion. It's a bobcat in the book. Again, not that it really matters. But
Bobcats are a little smaller, aren't they?
Yeah, bobcats are smaller. I felt like it was maybe a little superior in the book. It wouldn't have worked tonally in the movie because it's kind of a scary scene.
Yeah.
It happens... when the cat is like trying to rejoin with the two dogs, and he realizes that he's being stalked by this bobcat. And it's kind of the only time in the book that the author ever ascribes like a morality to any of the animals, because the bobcat is like pure evil.
Really?
In the book, and is like stalking the cat, and there are several scenes where the cat like just barely gets away.
Yeah.
From the bobcat, and it's pretty like pulse pounding.
Yeah, that could be interesting because it's definitely played for laughs in the movie.
Yeah.
With the two dogs, it's or not. It's ultimately played for laughs, and even when they first run into it, there's never any sense of like dread or.
Right.
Like they're kind of like worried about it, but not like...
There's not a sense of real danger, which there absolutely would be.
Yeah.
In real
God,
life,
yeah. Especially because it's a mountain lion.
Yeah.
A bobcat being slightly smaller, against two dogs, maybe less so. But yeah, a mountain lion would destroy two dogs. Like it wouldn't even be a fight.
There would be no contest.
No, not at all.
So that was what I had for Better in the Book.
Okay. The only time, I will say this, the one time that was actually at all had any sort of real stakes in terms of, well, they played the mountain lion thing for a farce, a joke in the movie, but the river part with the cat, and then obviously at the end with the mud pit thing, there are some elements there where it feels, there are definitely some stakes to it, and it feels like the animals are in danger. Yeah. But yeah, they definitely not with the mountain lion. They just
they play that more for laughs.
They catapult it comically off a cliff.
Yeah. Whereas in the book, it's kind of like this whole extended chapter of dread.
Yeah, and that I could see that being really interesting, but also maybe too intense for.
Yeah, that was my thought
for children. If done similarly.
Well, I would include also in Better in the Book the thing with the note, even though we already talked about it.
Right.
Just because it made no sense in the movie.
Cool. Well, if that's all you got there, let's move on to Better in the Movie.
My life has taught me one lesson, Hugo, and not the one I thought it would. Happy endings only happen in the movies.
So my first big thing, switching around the roles of the young dog and the old dog.
Yeah, this makes more sense to me.
It makes way more sense.
When you described it from how it was in the book, I was like, what? Why?
Yeah, it makes way more sense, and it allows for way more salient character arcs for both dogs. And there's not really character arcs in the book.
Right.
Well,
and correct me if I'm wrong, you haven't mentioned this yet, but the characters don't quote-unquote talk in the book, correct?
Right, and I was actually, this is as good a place to mention it as any. That's something I like better about the movie.
Okay, because I wanted to make sure we brought that up.
The animals don't talk in the book at all.
Yeah.
Like, we'll occasionally get a sentence about, like, what they're feeling.
Right.
Like, oh, the old dog was frustrated or something like that. But yeah, they don't talk.
But he doesn't go, oh, brr, 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 like, he doesn't. Yeah, okay.
But I did think that was a good change, because, God, this would be a long, boring movie without voiceovers.
Yeah, it would be tough. Yeah, you could do it maybe more as a short. It needs voiceovers.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. I also liked that they switched the cat from a boy to a girl, because, like we said before, now we get to have Sally Field in our movie.
Yeah. And it's also, although it does sort of play into the
stereotype about cats and
cats
dogs.
Are girls, dogs are boys. Like, that's how it is.
It does.
I wouldn't have hated if they had switched it the other, like if one of the dogs had been a girl and the cat had been a boy, could have been interesting.
Yeah, that could have been interesting.
But I mean, yeah, it's fine. Whatever. It works.
So after the river sequence in the movie, Sassy is found and nursed back to health by an old man birdwatcher person.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, she's found by a little girl who takes him home, and similar sequence of events. But I was glad that they changed that, because it's actually kind of sad in the book when the cat leaves.
Oh, because the girl's
the little girl cries.
Yeah. So
like,
in the movie, an old man finds her and nurses her back to health, and then when she runs off, he's like, all right.
Yeah, he's like, carry on, fair lady, or something weird like that.
Do you want to have your mind blown a little bit?
Yes.
I found a cool fun fact that I was unaware of. So the man in the movie who finds Sassy, nurses her back to health, I was like, I wonder what this guy, like, he seems familiar, and now that wasn't the case. He wasn't familiar. But he is known for something. Is probably his biggest role, but you've never seen his face. So he's an old man. This movie came out in 93. He actually just died this month.
Oh, really?
He was like 98 or something. He was old.
Rip old man birdwatcher.
His name is William Phipps. And what William Phipps is famous for, he was the voice of Prince Charming in Cinderella.
Really?
Yes. In 1950.
Interesting.
He was the voice of Prince Charming. So he was also in War of the Worlds, but
I wonder if they were like doing a nod to that by having him be like a kind of a chivalrous.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And I was paying attention. I didn't notice any particular lines that sort of made reference, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was, and I just missed it because I don't know a lot about Cinderella, to be fair. But he's Prince Charming in the animated Cinderella from 1950. So Disney brought him back. All right, what else? Anything else better in the movie?
In the movie, we get way more of the people, the family that they belong to. We get to meet them at the beginning. They realize that the animals are missing a lot sooner than they do in the book. So we have like this opportunity for like parallel action and cutting back to what the family's doing, which I think is really great. We get extra story there. We get more fleshed out human characters. One last thing for better in the movie. There's a scene in the book where the three animals meet a First Nations tribe.
Okay.
It's in Canada, so I don't know if calling them Native American is correct.
Native North Americans?
So I'm going with First Nations tribe. Yeah. And I honestly thought it was fine in the book. Like, it didn't seem particularly disrespectful to me, a white girl. But I think it was probably a good idea to drop it. Given
Disney's track record.
Given Hollywood's track record of portraying First Nations people, it was probably a good idea.
Yeah, just to avoid that
worms altogether. Just avoid that whole thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's all I have for better in the book.
Cool. No, it's better in the movie.
Better in the movie.
All right. Let's do it. It's time for the final verdict.
Now, are you ready for your sentence?
Sentence? But there must be a verdict first.
Sentence first, verdict afterwards.
Katie, what's better, the book or the movie?
I'm going to give it to the movie.
Wow.
I enjoyed the book more than I kind of thought I might.
Anticipated, yeah.
And I think I would have liked it a lot more as a kid.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, it is a children's book. It's
and it is, whereas the movie kind of forays maybe a little more towards the fantasy animal story side by like having them talk and giving them rich inner lives and all that kind of stuff. The book is very much real animal story. They're just being animals for 145 pages. And it's interesting, but there's not a whole lot of structure to it. There's not a whole lot of character growth. And I think that a lot of the changes that they made for the movie, most notably swapping around the roles of the dogs.
Yeah.
And having older, wiser Shadow being the one to lead them home was a really good choice.
That makes a lot of sense, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it to the movie.
Cool. So for the answer for our homework from the prequel episode, you touched on it in your verdict there. And it was what I was thinking, a mixture of fantasy with, it's kind of all three to some extent. Because it's, so the three categories were fantasy, pet story, or animal story, real animal story, and pet was with a subgenre of pet story. Yeah. And obviously it's very much at the beginning and end, and throughout, because of the conversations they have, very much about the relationship between the people and the dogs. And even when the people aren't around, they talk about it, and that's sort of the element of Chance's whole character growth and learning to trust and that sort of thing. And it's also, they talk, but they also don't actually talk. So it's kind of fantasy in the sense that they do talk and have conversations with each other.
Yeah.
But they're not actually talking. I mean, there's, however you want to describe it, they're like...
Right, they're talking, but they're not talking in the way that the characters in The Wind in the Willows talk to each other.
Right, and they're not wearing clothes. They're not anthropomorphized in any way other than the fact that they do speak in English to each other.
But I think you're right. Whereas the book I would put very firmly and solidly in real animal story, the movie kind of has its fingers in all three categories at once. Yeah,
it does. It definitely does. Based on the description breakdown that we kind of talked about in the prequel episode. I think it fits into all three, probably primarily into the fantasy animal story to some extent, but mainly because they talk. But I guess if you get rid of the fact that they talk and just kind of dismiss that,
right?
Then it's just
they act like animals.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They act like animals. Yeah. Cool. So the answer is, as it often is, we gave you three options. The answer was, you're wrong. Trick question. D, all of the above. Gotcha. Before we wrap things up, Katie, what is next?
Well, coming up, we are going to do something very special. We're going to do a listener's choice.
Yes.
Which we haven't done since our Christmas episode. But this one is going to be a little different. We're not choosing between multiple movie versions of the same story.
For our Christmas episode, we did Christmas Carol, and we had 5 different ones you could choose from.
Yeah, many different ones we could choose from. This time, we have 3 separate book/movies, and we would like you guys to choose one for us. So our options are going to be The Fault in Our Stars by John Green.
Of YouTube fame.
Yes.
To me. I know his brother, at least from YouTube, Hank.
I shouldn't have started with author names, because I don't remember the author names for the other two.
So The Fault in Our Stars.
The Fault in Our Stars. The Perks of Being a Wallflower is our other option, and Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist is our third option. So it's kind of a teen drama listener's choice. So there will be...
Slightly coming of age,
yeah.
Okay.
There will be polls up on Facebook, on Twitter. I will post about it on Instagram, since that's where we get the most engagement.
But you won't have a poll there necessarily.
Yeah, there won't be a poll
just
there.
Directing people to the other options.
But also, if you want to leave a comment on Instagram, I'll count that.
We'll count that. So yeah, but you check out at the Facebook page or the Twitter. We'll have them linked or pinned so that they'll be at the top for the next. And do us a favor, do it right away, because Kay's got to start reading whichever one these is, because this is our next episode in 2 weeks. So and you'll be able to knock it out pretty quick. But the quicker we get those votes and kind of see which way it's leaning, our luck, it'll all be like dead even, and we'll just have to decide. But so that's the next episode. Well, the next episode is prequel episode, where we will announce which one we're doing. So the deadline for this voting is going to be...
It'll be this upcoming Sunday.
Yeah, this coming Sunday, probably at midnight. So Saturday at midnight, going into Sunday, because we usually record on Sundays for the prequel episodes. So have them in by this coming Sunday, and then we'll announce which one we're doing, and that'll be the next one. And then
We're getting started on something big.
The biggest thing we've done yet, by far. I don't know if we want to announce it yet.
Very big. I think we should let it hang.
Let's let it hang. People will be excited. This is something people have been waiting for. I'm sure there are a few things, books we'll say books that people have been waiting for. This is definitely going to be one of the biggest ones. It's going to be a big project. We'll leave it at that. But it's coming up in a month from now, right as we're moving. So we'll figure out how to make that work. Until next time, keep reading books, keep watching movies, keep being awesome, and keep giving us 5-star reviews on iTunes. Just one of the ways you can be awesome.